Hi there, I'm Adem Kirbas. This is I'm here in Ordu, Turkey. This is a July day, cloudy, and we are still in the pandemic. I hope you all are doing fine. However, today we will talk about another big issue, or at least this is the first part of a very big issue, and this is, of course, privileges. I mean, you hear it in all in the news, whatever, but it is what's meant with privileges is mostly white privilege. I mean, we will talk about this. This is called racial privileges, and I thought about it. But however, this is one of these big issues. I mean, this is what the Black Lives Matter movement announced. It was before that. It was already in the civil rights movement and so on. However, privileges are one of the big issues, and we will talk about the fact that there is not one privilege, but that there are many privileges, especially privileges for from your gender. We talked a little bit of feminism, and then as well as privileges through your financial means. If you are wealthy or have access to special groups, then you have, or you are better off, you are better connected. The next thing is, of course, religious and aristocratic privileges. These aristocratic privileges may be easily understood. This is about a monarchy, and that with monarchy you have certain privileges, entitlement. Think about all those monarchies around the world, and so on. And religious privileges may not be or may not seem evident at once, but this is rather if certain groups within a religion have special privileges. For example, in the Islamic world, the descendants of the Prophet Muhammad, the Sayyids, and we will come to talk about them as well. This is very important. Then next privileges would be political privileges. This is political privileges means if you are in a political party, political group, whatsoever, you have some certain privileges. This is especially true for continental Europe, especially for Austria, partially for Germany. If you are a member of a political party, you get easy access to some resources, to jobs, to housing. Your housing is way cheaper, and so on. So, but political privileges, this is something you always find, and it is in a way necessary. I mean, we will talk about this as well, but one thing is clear, you want to keep your supporters near, and political privileges go mostly beyond race. This means if you are, let's say, if you are Afro-American, Hispanic, or whatsoever, or Asian in the Democratic or in the Republican Party, of course, you will come to get some privileges which a normal person outside this sphere would not get. And lastly, of course, racial privileges. I took it at last because it is so important, and because it draws immediate all attentions that we will talk about racial privileges in at last. Nevertheless, it is the most important and most evident of these privileges, of these five categories of privileges. Of course, there are many more, and but I some sort of confined it to the five most obvious. And of course, before we start with privileges, I think it makes sense that we have to talk about in general what are privileges. And I think this is even essential. And I looked it up. I mean, I googled it. I googled the definition privilege. This is something you can do as well. And I came up with 6 definitions. And I think all of these 6 we will need. I will just read them so that we are at the same page. One definition was that privileges are a special right, advantage, or immunity granted only to a particular person or group. Secondly, this is privileges are something regarded as a special honor. This is where we will later talk about religious privileges and aristocratic privileges. Then privileges are the right to say right, or in brackets, this is what I add in brackets, or do something without being punished, or legal action for defamation, without incurring punishment or legal action for defamation. I mean, I could not read my own handwriting. However, and then very important privileges are the right of a lawyer or an official to refuse or to divulge confidential information. This means not that I criticize the special bond between lawyer and his client. Not at all. This is very important. Think about knowledge and who gets access to knowledge and who what. And of course, privileges there as well as mean to exempt someone from a liability to which others are subject. This means, for example, think of immunity, think of that ambassadors. This is very common or of embassies, or these things are being issued by embassies or to the ambassadors of a country. I mean, I'm not quite sure and clear why it is not quite clear why this is being granted and issued, why someone should have, as the representative of a country, special immunity in a land whatsoever, especially in a European land. Why would anyone need special immunity? However, but this is the fact. So these are privileges or exempt from liabilities, from law, you could say, from law, or as well as from force or some taking part in any activity and so on. And historically, which I think is very important, privileges means a grant to an individual, corporation, or place of special rights or immunities, especially in the form of franchise and monopolies. This is very common in economies. Think about Poland, today's Poland. There are some areas where company can settle, and they are in a way exempt from taxes or special issues granted. Think in the Middle Ages. Some monarchs or some authorities would sell to private persons the right to taxation or to collect taxes. This is some sort of a grant, as special permit, or to companies whatsoever, what you might think, and so on. So there are these definitions which I found at Google. This is just you give it into the Google browser, and I think that they are indeed sufficient, and we will work us through them. They are not complete. I think we have to add a little bit of it, what is missing, and so on. I mean, one thing one has probably immediately saw is that privileges here understood in this definitions, this is rather legal. So this is a legal court or legal entity. This is a monarchy in the ancient world and so on, that they issue some sort of privileges, that this nevertheless privileges have a social issue as well, and we will walk slowly through this. But one thing of course we have to understand is this, that privileges are social, they are politically, religious, genderized, sexualized, and racialized. But however, they are always historic. This means the time a court mostly issues a privilege. This is already a fact, and so on. For example, there is one very famous privilege with anti-Semitism in the Middle Ages, so that monarchies and so on would issue special permits to some people to tax Jews or so on, or that Jews in a way then were, for example, barred from doing certain jobs and so on. So privileges always had not only the advantages but as well as the disadvantages, and this is always historic to be understood. So the legal term is not sufficient enough, and privilege in that sense, they never really cease to exist, because privileges, because they are social, because they are some sort of innate in a society, and because they are historical, that they then become institutionalized. Imagine or think of the monarchy. We talked about the monarchies, some sort of derived from from a warrior caste, and this warrior caste then became some sort of institutionalized in the monarchy, with special grants, with special way of owning land, because this land back in the days, they were contested in the Middle Ages. I mean, those dukes and so on, they always had to defend those certain lands against invaders and so on, and this is why they have some sort of granted special permission. This was militarily as well as rule, and this is something you could already see with the dissolvement of the Roman Empire and so on. And privileges in that sense, they are as well as meant into a belief. This is what we said about in the late Roman Empire, in order that the Roman emperors became increasingly endangered of being assassinated. They then somehow created an aura of divinity around themselves, and this is actually what the monarchy was later off. So this got given order, this got given structure. The aristocracy, especially in Europe, that they would have blue blood, that they would be in a way divine and so on. So with privileges, of course, always comes a belief in those privileges. This is like law. You can enact every law, whatever you want, even though it is the most advanced and equal law, whatever. It means nothing. If or when people do not obey it, or when people do not